You've probably noticed something off about her recently. Not exactly distant, but like there's an invisible wall between you two that wasn't there before. Maybe she used to text you random things throughout the day, and now her messages feel shorter, more careful. Maybe conversations that used to flow naturally now have these weird pauses where she seems to be measuring every word. And the thought that keeps creeping into your mind is simple and brutal. She's losing interest, but what if I told you that you've got it completely backwards? What if the real reason she's pulling away has nothing to do with losing feelings and everything to do with protecting herself from how intensely those feelings are growing? There's a specific pattern of behavior that 90% of men misread as rejection when it's actually the clearest signal that she's falling harder than she ever planned to. And if you misunderstand it, you'll make the exact wrong move at the exact wrong time and lose her forever. Here's something that sounds completely insane but is backed by actual relationship psychology. The women who develop the strongest feelings are often the ones who become the most guarded. I'm not talking about playing games or manipulation. I'm talking about genuine self-protection that kicks in automatically when a woman realizes she's becoming emotionally invested in someone who has the power to completely wreck her. Think about someone you really cared about once. Remember how easy it was to be yourself around people who didn't matter much. You could crack jokes, be vulnerable, say whatever came to mind because there were no real stakes. But with that one person who actually mattered, suddenly everything felt heavy. Every word you said felt loaded with meaning. You started second-guessing yourself. You became aware of how much power they had to hurt you. That's what's happening to her right now. And the more she cares, the more carefully she moves. Research published in behavioral psychology journals shows something fascinating. Women who report being deeply in love are significantly more likely to conceal the full extent of their feelings compared to women who are only moderately interested. It's not because they're dishonest, it's because vulnerability feels dangerous when the stakes are real. When she barely knows you, being open is easy because there's nothing to lose. But once real feelings develop, everything changes. Suddenly, she's thinking about worst-case scenarios. She's remembering past relationships where she opened up too soon and got burned. Her brain is running simulations of all the ways this could go wrong. And here's where biology makes everything more complicated. When a woman develops serious romantic feelings, her brain chemistry shifts dramatically. Dopamine floods her system, creating feelings of euphoria and obsession. But at the same time, cortisol levels rise because her nervous system interprets emotional vulnerability as a potential threat. Her body is literally experiencing the biochemical equivalent of standing on the edge of a cliff, exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. So her instinct becomes to step back from the edge, to create distance, to protect herself from the fall. But she doesn't want to lose you either, so she ends up in this impossible position trying to stay close enough to keep the connection alive while maintaining enough distance to feel safe. And from the outside to you, it just looks like she's acting weird or losing interest. You have no idea that internally she's at war with herself, torn between the desire to let you in and the fear of what happens if she does. Now let me show you exactly how this plays out in real behavior. These are the specific signs that reveal she's not pulling away because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much and doesn't know how to handle it. First, notice how she talks about you to other people, or more accurately, how she doesn't. When a woman is casually dating someone, she'll mention him openly to friends and family. She'll show pictures, ask for advice, talk about where things might be going. There's no risk in that because she's not emotionally exposed yet. But when a woman is genuinely falling for someone, she goes quiet. She keeps that person separate from the rest of her life. She might even downplay the relationship entirely, calling you just a friend, or saying it's nothing serious when people ask. Why would she hide something that makes her happy? Because saying it out loud makes it real. Once she admits to her friends that she has real feelings for you, there's no taking it back. Those feelings become undeniable. And if things fall apart, she'll have to face their sympathy and their questions and the humiliation of everyone knowing she got hurt again. So she protects herself by keeping you private, by not letting the outside world attach expectations or labels to whatever is happening between you. But here's the contradiction that reveals the truth. Even though she's not openly talking about her feelings, she can't completely stop talking about you. Her friends notice. They pick up on the way her face changes when your name comes up. They catch her checking her phone more often. They hear the little details she lets slip without realizing it. So when you're around them, they act strange. They exchange knowing looks. They make comments that suggest they know more than they're supposed to. She told them she's keeping things casual, but they can see right through it. And that gap between what she says and what they observe is one of the clearest signs that her feelings run deeper than she's willing to admit. Second, pay attention to how she remembers things about you. This one is subtle but incredibly revealing. She'll bring up something you mentioned in passing weeks ago, a story about your childhood, a random preference, something so minor you completely forgot you even said it. And when you're surprised she remembered, she immediately brushes it off. Oh, I don't know, I just have a weird memory for random stuff. Or she'll act like she barely recalls it when you can tell from the specificity of her memory that she remembers it perfectly. Here's what's actually happening. When someone develops deep feelings for you, their brain starts prioritizing information about you. It's not a conscious choice, it's automatic. Every detail you share gets filed away as important. Every story gets stored. Cognitive research shows that we have significantly better recall for information related to people we're emotionally invested in. She's not trying to remember everything about you. Her brain just does it because you matter to her. But admitting that she remembers every little thing you've told her would reveal how much mental space you occupy. It would show that she thinks about you constantly, that she replays your conversations, that details about your life have become significant to her. And that level of attention feels too revealing. So she pretends it's coincidence or good memory, when really it's evidence of how deeply you've gotten under her skin. Third, watch how she reacts when other women come up in conversation. This is where things get really counterintuitive. You'd expect that a woman with feelings for you would show at least some jealousy when you mention other women, right? Maybe she'd ask questions or change the subject or show some sign of discomfort. But often the opposite happens. When you mention a female coworker or a friend, she's completely unbothered. She might even encourage you to hang out with her. She acts totally supportive and chill about it, and your brain interprets this as disinterest. If she really liked me, she'd be at least a little jealous. But here's what you're missing. A woman who's only casually interested might show jealousy because she wants to know where she stands and whether she has competition. But a woman who's genuinely in love and trying to hide it does the exact opposite. She overcompensates. She acts unbothered specifically because showing jealousy would expose her feelings. This is a psychological defense mechanism called reaction formation. You express the opposite of what you really feel to protect yourself from vulnerability. She's not actually okay with other women being close to you. Part of her hates it, but admitting that would mean admitting she wants you to herself. And she can't say that out loud because it would reveal how much you mean to her. So she puts on a mask of complete indifference. But the mask isn't perfect. If you watch closely during those moments when other women come up, you'll see micro expressions that betray her real feelings. Her smile might not quite reach her eyes. Her jaw might tighten for just a second. She might suddenly need to check her phone or find a reason to change the subject just a little too quickly. The words say she doesn't care, but her body language tells a completely different story. Fourth, notice what happens when you try to have a serious conversation about feelings or where the relationship is going. This is the one that confuses men the most because it seems like such a clear sign of disinterest. You try to talk about what you mean to each other or define the relationship, and suddenly she's deflecting. She makes jokes, she changes the subject. She gets visibly uncomfortable and finds a way to escape the conversation. And most guys take this as confirmation that she's not that into them. If she had real feelings, she'd want to talk about it, right? Wrong. Completely wrong. She's avoiding that conversation precisely because her feelings are too strong. As long as things stay undefined, as long as emotions stay unspoken, she maintains some illusion of control. She can tell herself it's casual. She can convince herself that if you disappeared tomorrow, she'd be fine. But the moment she admits her feelings out loud, that safety net disappears. It becomes real and undeniable and terrifying. Having that conversation forces her to be vulnerable before she's ready. And forced vulnerability doesn't feel like intimacy. It feels like exposure. It feels like being backed into a corner and having her defenses ripped away. So she resists it not because she doesn't care, but because she cares so much that the thought of laying it all out there and risking rejection is unbearable. Fifth, she tests you in small, subtle ways that reveal whether you're emotionally safe. These aren't manipulative games. They're subconscious attempts to figure out if you can handle her at her most real, most difficult, most vulnerable. She might cancel plans at the last minute to see if you react with anger or understanding. She'll go quiet for a day to see if you panic and bombard her with messages or give her space while staying consistent. She might share something personal and then immediately pull back to see if you'll push for more or respect her boundaries. She's not trying to mess with your head. She's gathering data about who you really are. Can you handle her moods? Will you respect her need for space? Do you get defensive when she's honest? Will you stay calm when she's testing your patience? Every small test is her way of answering the bigger question. Is it safe to love you? And here's where most men completely destroy everything. They learn about these signs and immediately confront her about it. They say something like, I know you have feelings for me, why are you hiding it? Or they push for a conversation about defining the relationship right away. And the moment they do that, she shuts down completely. Because here's what you need to understand. When a woman is in this self-protective mode, being called out feels like an ambush. It feels like you're forcing her to be vulnerable before she's ready. And vulnerability that's demanded isn't intimacy, it's violation. She'll deny everything, she'll pull away, she'll convince herself she was wrong about you. And you'll lose her not because she didn't have feelings, but because you tried to force her hand before she was ready to show it. So what should you do instead? You create safety without demanding anything in return. You show up consistently without chasing. You demonstrate through your actions, not your words, that her heart would be safe with you. When she pulls back slightly, you don't panic. You don't bombard her with texts asking what's wrong. You give her space while remaining available. You send a light message a day or two later, something casual that says, I'm still here, no pressure. When she cancels plans, you respond with genuine understanding. No problem at all, just let me know when you're free. No guilt trips, no passive-aggressive comments. Just calm, steady presence that shows her you're not going anywhere. When she tests you by being difficult or moody, you stay grounded. You don't take it personally. You don't match her energy with frustration. You show her that you can handle her at her worst, which makes her feel safe enough to eventually show you her best. Over time, as she sees that you're consistent, that you're patient, that you're different from the men who hurt her before, the walls start coming down, the need to hide starts to fade, and the love she's been fighting against becomes the love she finally allows herself to feel openly. I know this is frustrating. When you care about someone, you want clarity. You want them to be open and honest about how they feel. But some of the most beautiful relationships start with one person being brave enough to guard their heart, while the other is wise enough to see through the walls and patient enough to wait for them to come down naturally. She's not hiding because she doesn't love you. She's hiding because she does, and that terrifies her. She's afraid you'll leave. She's afraid you'll hurt her the way others have. She's afraid that if she shows you the fullness of what she feels, you'll prove that her fears were justified all along. If you recognize these signs in someone, don't force a confession. Don't demand vulnerability. Just be the kind of person who proves through quiet consistency that her heart is safe with you. Because earning someone's trust isn't about getting them to admit their feelings. It's about being worthy of those feelings in the first place. Real love doesn't always announce itself with grand declarations. Sometimes it hides in the shadows, watching and waiting and hoping you'll be patient enough and perceptive enough to see it for what it really is.